we go live.
It's like waiting for a thunder clap.
Someone wants to drink. Hi, I think it's time to say welcome for this art talk with Genetic Mo and Jack from Lumen. Really nice to see you all here in the virtual space, and I know some of you are also joining us on the YouTube link. I'd like to especially welcome Jim and Nicola from Genetic Mo, Jack, and we might also have somebody from Biome Collective here today who's been developing this platform for us. So what will happen today? We will want to know more about Genetic Mo, their practice, what they're doing, how they developed this art project that we have showing at Sørlandets Kunstmuseum at the moment. It has been closed for a few days, but now the museum will open later this week. So people will be able to see the real Microworld Christian Sam exhibition. So Jack, this exhibition and this project here started with us collaborating. You are the director of Lumen projects, and we have had the pleasure of developing this exhibition, Microworld, together. Can you share a little bit about Lumen and your work so far?
Sure. So as Toro mentioned, I'm Jack Addis, director of the Lumen Prize, which celebrates the very best art created with technology through a global competition. Alongside cash prizes, winning shortlisted and longlisted artists are eligible to take part in our events that we put on. So I always like to say that Lumen is much more than a prize. Each year, 65 artists join our community, where we work to find opportunities through partner organizations like SKMU that include exhibitions, commissions, as well as other things for artists like interviews and opportunities like this one where we're all here today. You know, Lumen's aim is to make art and technology for everybody. And I'm excited to kind of be here today and share with you this almost year-long project Toro and I have been working on, and also have a good chat with my close friends, Genetic Mo, and introduce you to kind of who they are and their practice. So shall I dive right in and have a short conversation with Genetic Mo about this? So guys, first off, if you could introduce yourselves and a little bit about your background. And also tell the audience, in case they haven't been able to get to the museum, what is there? What is Microworld?
Hello, so I'm Nicola.
I'm Tim.
And we are Genetic Mo. We are digital artists, and we've been making interactive art for, well, since 2008. I started with photography and 16mm filmmaking, which I enjoyed very much. I liked making films, but I wanted the audience to do more than just sit down in their chair and maybe fall asleep. So I explored using film in installations. And then in the 1990s, I got more involved in code and setting up using different devices for people to engage with. So basically getting the audience to move around. What about you, Tim?
So yeah, when did we meet? About 2000?
Yes.
So Nicola formed a film making collective. There were about 10 of us originally, and we made short films using video cameras, the big ones you used to put on your shoulders. We used to share equipment, it was quite expensive. And then bit by bit, as the group changed over the years, and it was called Genetic Move back then as well, everybody left, and it just left me and Nicola on our own. And Nicola said, one is we became a couple, and the other one was, Nicola said, can you help me turn my starfish into a digital animating creature? Because my background's in programming. So we said yes, and that was the start of it. So that was about 2008.
It was, and I learned how to do coding. So I did an MA in computer coding, basic, and Tim also had a background in film. So together we combined our skills and started creating interactive artworks. So at the museum, we have an exhibition called Micro World. And Micro World we refer to as a digital ecosystem. And we call it that because it's full of artworks that we call creatures. And these creatures interact with each other, but they also interact with the audience as well. There are webcams, Kinect sensors, that's from the Xbox, and microphones. And so the audience can go into the space and start connecting with it. And we've got 2 new pieces in there as well, one called See People, and people can engage with the piece with their mobile phone. And behind me, swimming, you can see some squidlets. And in the exhibition, you can become a squidlet as well, a little squid. You can become digital.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I would say, having worked with you over the years, Microworld has evolved and changed, and the creatures themselves have individually almost taken on a life of their own. I think some of the audience here might not be familiar with kind of what is a digital artist, if that's what you would call yourself, kind of art practice like, you know, what is the day-to-day, and how do you see yourselves maybe different from artists who use more traditional materials like painting or sculpture?
When I was about 12, my mother bought a computer for the family. It was a BBC computer, and I learned to program as a kid just by teaching myself, really, and so did my brother. We sort of taught each other using magazines, and I was always interested in being creative with computers, and I was interested in my mum used to take me around art galleries, and I'd look at Rothko's, things like this, and go, oh, this is very good, I'd like to be an artist. But I wanted to me, it was really obvious that the computer would be a next great tool for artists to use to create things. And there's still, to me, it's almost still like 2 layers. There's the traditional art world, and then, I'm told you this one before, Jack, there's a traditional art world, and then there's a digital art world. There's a parallel worlds. And they don't quite meet, but there are connections between them. And so Shmoo Museum and the Lumen Prize are connecting these 2 worlds. And currently, and for the last 100 years, this traditional art world has been on top. The digital art is on the bottom. This art, the top one has all the light, big galleries, spacious. At the bottom one, we have the dungeons and the dark spaces, black galleries. But anyway, our job is we're trying to turn it around the other way around, like this. We're trying to put the digital art on top, and using computers.
Yeah, and so the thing is, obviously, we use computers, and we're using computer language, and we use a program called Processing, which is free to use, so you know anyone can get started in it. But we also use photography and video, all digital, and bring them together. A very important feature of many digital artists' work is collaboration. So Tim and I have collaborated for years, but we also collaborate with other artists as well. We collaborate with the audience, because when they come into the space, they can make creatures which join the world, and they are part of the Microworld performance.
The film behind us was made, we did a project with a school, so it was the entire school of about hundreds.
No, it's 220 children in a primary school.
In a primary, so we did the whole school, and we got
the
them
littlest to the oldest.
about 8 years old, somewhere around there. And we got them to, some of them green ones, you can see people dancing, making weird shapes, but then they did squidlets, and then some of them created these buildings, and some of them even learned to code. Some of the older kids are coding. So we're always trying to get next generation of people excited about being creative with computers. So yes, we don't have an art studio. We just work at home on our laptops mainly, putting together programs, videos, graphics, using lots and lots of software, which is mainly available free on the internet. Well, someone's turned into a giant skull in there. There was a size limit on the characters in the previous one, but we took the size limit off. So anyway, people are enjoying themselves. They found the...
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question well, and neatly leads into the next point I'd like to talk about, which is the idea of kind of interactivity and perhaps not necessarily play, but the idea of gaming, you know, and how is that important to your practice? Because, you know, you mentioned that you work at home, and I think, you know, there's a lot of, and this will lead on to the later conversation, and during the time when you were in lockdown, I know you were basically making a micro at home that people could tune into. So perhaps you could talk a little bit about the idea of play and interaction in games.
So I think, as I say, a long time ago, when I was studying filmmaking, it was part of an experimental course, and a key word was the active audience. So it was the idea that you would encourage the audience to do something, walk around, ask questions, be part of a performance. And so I was always interested in giving agency to people. The lovely thing about interactive art, where people can trigger things, make things happen, is it often makes people laugh, and they want to talk about it, and they will experiment together. And so it's really powerful experience. It's wonderful for us as artists to watch people playing with our work, but it's also for us to interact with it.
We also get ideas. We watch people engaging with what we've created, and the best thing for us is when they do something we didn't think of that they would do. They create something new with the piece, and we go, oh, that's good, we'll use that for the next piece. So we're always looking at the way that people play with what we've got, and using that to create the next works.
And I think also what we're interested in is instead of simply looking and saying I like it, I don't like it, is perhaps setting, I suppose, people asking questions, exploring the space, discovering things. We're very interested in, we have a very simple background, let's say, in biology. We're fascinated by science, and we make links with the natural world. We play with ideas from the natural world, the idea of the digital ecosystem being that sort of thing. But we hope that it will also ask people to think about the world around them and how they are connected with the world, the role they play in their own ecosystems.
Yeah, I love that idea of the active audience. I think we definitely have an active audience in the virtual museum today, which is really great. So, Toril, perhaps you and I can have a brief chat about the background for this virtual museum.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say first that after, you know, when we finish this live talk on YouTube, the artist will also be in space where people can ask direct questions in this like platform if they like. So I'd just like to mention that. And sure, yeah. A year ago when the pandemic hit the world, there was some funding available for museums and other people in the culture that wanted to explore more the virtual world. And then I made contact with you, Jack, again to see talk about, you know, we had this idea about artists in the virtual space. So that's how this project came about, to see, because we kind of understood people missed this sense of being together. You can explore many digital things, museums and artists digitally, but just that sense of being together and exploring it together was something people were missing. So that's why we started that project, and we're happy that we could work together with you and also Philip Pais, who is one of our consultants on that project. And even better, when we understood we could invite Genetic Mo into this space. So that's been even more interesting.
Yeah, so we spent quite a long time working and looking at different ways to do this and different platforms. From my side, I've always been very interested in internet art and, you know, the idea of choose your own adventure and how we could maybe create a story with this work, and, you know, something people could experience together and make that story together. Maybe you, Toril, could let in a few ideas we had about what were our goals with the environment we were trying to make.
Yeah, like I said, we really there was different ideas we had, but at least for our audience, we knew that entering into this virtual space would be kind of a new experience. So we knew we wanted something that you could really have a sense of space, even if it's a virtual platform, and that would be simple and yeah, playful in a way. So when we kind of had these two projects, and suddenly we understood, oh, why don't we ask Genetic Mo, Tim and Nicola to join us for this project? That was a really good moment where everything kind of, and then Tim had the chance to think about who did he think could be the good collaborator on this platform, and he made connection with Biome Collective and reached out to them to see if they would be interested, and luckily everything came together in a really good way.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting journey to see where we started and what we were thinking about originally to where we've ended up. I would say that what we have now is a very true representation, really, of what you and I, Tora, were hoping to create, this kind of social space almost within it. And working with Biome Collective and Genetic Moo, all the little things you can do here. So if you're in the virtual space now, a lot of you have turned yourselves into glasses of beer, but there are a set of actions on the right-hand side. And if you do / any of those actions, so whether that's sheep or cow, you can run around and have more of an interaction in the space that way. So speaking of that, perhaps Tim and Nicola, you could talk to us a little bit about what is it that we're all going to be going to see after we finish this talk.
So yeah, we're really excited to be asked to do this, by the way. We've never done anything on such a low scale resolution before, so pixelated. I for years have been getting our work pixelated, and Nicola says, no, I want high resolution graphics.
High resolution.
Because she creates all these amazing graphics. But I said, no, smaller, because it's quicker. I'm the programmer. But now doing this, Nicola's become really interested in this pixel aesthetic. So trying to squeeze out as much interest and fun out of tiny little amounts of information. So we looked at some of the Biome collectives. They built previous virtual spaces, and they built the museum part of this installation, and then they built this empty box room on the end and said, right, here we are, do something in this space. So we didn't really know what to do, but we knew that we wanted it to, because we make large-scale interactive projection pieces. So this is the opposite. This is tiny stuff where you have to write words. So we thought we
experimented. I was looking at doing microscopic images.
We thought you'd go inside a creature. You would go inside something. Yeah.
Oh, well, I was looking at curved architecture. I was looking at Zaha Hadid's work, believe it or not. And then we had an interesting experience in the gallery with Hector and the sun stars. Oh, yeah. This was a real thing that happened. One of the sun stars disappeared, and we could not understand why this happened. So in the program, all the 3 sun stars or starfish should be on the screen, like these ones. And then overnight, one of the starfish disappeared. We didn't know why, and it took a little while to find out what it was, and it was a mathematical thing about infinity and etc. And then we thought, well, this could be an interesting narrative. So we have the mystery of the blue sun star, or the missing sun star. What's it called?
The mystery of the missing sun star, or the case of the missing sun star. So yes, you have to. Because this is an art residency and it's going to last for several months. We haven't built all of it yet. We just have some of it built. And we will be experimenting and building more of it as we go along. So you can't currently solve the case, but you can kind of do bits and pieces to kind of move the story forward.
And
not sure
because it is a residency, as Tim says, we will be building it over a number of a few weeks. When you go to the room and see the door into the space is a sun star, and you will see that it only has 4 legs, and that's because it still needs to regenerate 4 legs so that you can go into it. So the rooms are inside a sun star. Inside it's 2 stomachs. It's got 2 stomachs, incredible, and inside the legs. So it's a bit biological. and certainly a lot of fun.
But it is definitely experimental. We're still not quite sure how best to use this this space. So we're kind of trying different things out. So it's a little bit like a game. It's a little bit like a mystery. There's a little bit of story. You could just talk to people in there. It's a social space as well. And there is a games room. I think if you get to the second stomach, look for the thing that looks like an umbrella, the water sieve. If you get through there, there's a games room through there where you can invent your own games. And I think that might be kind of central to it. We haven't quite worked out how yet, but hopefully people will invent some interesting games in there, and then we could add that into it. So that's our vague idea. Yeah. That's an idea. So it is a residency. It's not a finished piece.
It's a proper.
We're working
proper residency
on it.
Yeah. Just to give people who are on YouTube and maybe don't understand what we are talking about an idea. So this is on our homepage. We have an extra site, almost like a video game, almost like Minecraft or something, where people can go into a website, kind of like a game, like you enter the museum in a game way. So the address for that is in the same link as the YouTube night. So maybe for people to explore afterwards.
It's not as complicated as Minecraft. It's much simpler than that. It's all running in a web browser in just a few kilobytes of memory. So it's a small thing, but yeah, good place to play and talk.
Yes, I would say this is an experimental place, one for making art and seeing art and being part of that process if you're in the audience. So as we mentioned before, this is you can come back in a couple of weeks and there'll be something new in the story of the missing Sunstar. And that's what we're really trying to see here is how can we be together in a virtual museum, not just for one day, but maybe we can come back and we can see and we can learn a bit more and explore some different actions that we can take and really have this as a place where if you can't come to the museum, you can definitely experience some very interesting art. The platform we're using here, as Tim and Nicola mentioned, has its limitations. And what we're really excited to see is how Tim and Nicola have been pushing these rules or these boundaries to make things that maybe this platform isn't used to. So, if you get lost, that's absolutely fine. There's a button you can click and it will take you right back to the front of the museum. And that's called Help, I'm Stuck. So we've tried to make this as intuitive and exciting as possible. Toril, would you like to speak a little bit about what will happen next and how we're going to organize that?
Yeah, now that we have given, an introduction into the exhibition we have on the real museum and also an introduction to what we might explore in the virtual site, I think we will finish this conversation by giving a special thanks, especially to Tim and Nicola for been working with us in site. I mean, they installed, of course, they couldn't come to Norway and install their installations in person, but we managed to do that remotely. And so it's been great working with you like that and also on this platform. And we look forward to, we will, on this virtual platform, we have some events where you will be present in the virtual place. One of them is with kids at the end of June. So we will make some listings so the audience can know when they will find you in space. There will be some meeting points for people. But I would also make a special thanks to Biome Collective, to James, Niall, and Matthew, who's been working with us. Maybe some of them are here tonight. We will see. And so, yeah, just thank you all for coming. Really nice to do this together for the first time. It's experimental in many ways, but I think you all worked very well together. So we will meet you now in the virtual place. Therefore, we can have some short questions, short answers like we can do in this chat, if you like. And from there on, we can go into the second floor of the virtual museum where we can explore the Artist in Residency by Genetico. See you there in the virtual space. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. So we're going to come out of that
Does it have
now.
a crest?